It's episode 9, 6, 8 of Down to Dunk. You can find us on The Athletic and anywhere else you subscribe to your podcast. Go to theathletic.com/down to dunk and get The Athletic for $3.99 a month. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Also, go to shopgoodokc.com/down to dunk to get some new Down to Dunk shirts. I am Luke, joined this morning by Andrew.
But I gotta say, I'm just fired up to be here today. It's pretty cool, pretty damn cool. Woo!
Chili.
Taylor.
Hey guys, what's ET short for? Because he's only got tiny legs. Let's get it on. Ah, baby. Let's get it on. Chili. Chili.
And Jay.
It's Jay.
What's up?
Somebody laughing in the background, huh?
What's up, guys? So the Thunder have had a interesting week. They had that the Portland Memphis back-to-back, which I wasn't quite ready for, the Memphis back-to-back, because I've got this calendar in front of me with the Thunder games on it, and didn't have that on there, but it's a makeup game. So that was interesting. The Thunder kind of have this this Milwaukee sandwich this week, right? They've got Milwaukee. They had Milwaukee Sunday, which they won, which was quite shocking, actually. And then they play Milwaukee tonight in Milwaukee, which is a second night of a back-to-back for the Bucks, actually. So,
but they've lost 5 in a row, and so there's a high likelihood that they're going to be very motivated.
You would think. You would have thought they would have been motivated after 4 losses, though.
Good point.
Maybe even 3.
Maybe even 2. Because the thing is, championship teams do not regularly lose 2 in a row, 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah, let alone 5.
They do have the excuse though that Drew Holiday is out.
Yeah,
no excuse.
They also have Giannis.
I know, man. I'm struggling with Giannis a little bit this year. Like, I think everybody is waiting to see what happens in the playoffs with him, but he, let's just be real about the fact that sometimes it looks like his offense is pretty limited. When he's hitting stride, obviously he's incredible, but his inability to really stretch with any sort of consistency is making it where teams are having a lot more success defending him. So anyway, I don't have a lot of more Milwaukee dialogue to have, but I don't know. I just struggle with him a little bit this year, watching him play the few times I have.
It's also his free throw percentage, which last year was pretty bad too at 63%, but this year it's still 63%. And that's well below. He was shooting in the 70s every year before that, besides his rookie year. So that's a weird thing too when you're going to the line 13 times. He gets to the line a bunch among all the superstars. Giannis might be number 1. I haven't looked in a while, but man, that is hard when you can't make them.
Yeah, he's going to the line 10 times a game.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Hey guys. Also,
you can snap that streak.
Hey guys, we should also point out. We mentioned I screamed about it, but that those Shop Good OKC Down to Dunk shirts. Everyone should go check them out because some of them are the dopest things I've ever seen.
Specifically,
that hoodie is going to be on my body. There's just no question about it.
Yeah,
It looks
very good.
It looks so fresh, and I can't wait.
Yeah, same. I was
So
surprised.
go check it out.
I didn't know they were doing that, and then when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's wonderful." Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else about this team that you need to get off your chest before we get into Tayshaun's factoid?
Jay, you want to talk about Isaiah Roby or what?
No, I figured he'd be a part of our conversation about prospects. So they are 11-17, the 13th in the Western Conference. They have the 6th worst record, tied with Houston, actually, unless something changed from last night. So, I mean, this team is pretty limited. Like, I know that they play really hard and they're in that Portland game, and it took Dame to make that really change for them. But this team, I just think that you're going to see a lot of losses in the next 3 weeks of the season, or how much longer until we break for the unnecessary All-Star game. So I just think it's one of those things where, if you're looking forward to the rebuild, replenish, restock, superstar hunting, tank, or whatever you'd like to call it, I think that this team is kind of doing it exactly how you'd want to, in the sense that they compete really hard. There's some bright spots, things that make you excited. And then on top of that is looking at the teams that are below them. You still have teams that are really actively trying to win. Like, I don't know if you guys would say the Cavaliers are trying to win. They're 1-9 in their last 10. But it feels like, at least the way they started the season, they are trying to win. I think Washington's trying to win. I think the Magic still, whether or not they should, they're still trying to win. I think the only team that you could pretty clearly say they aren't trying to win is the Pistons. But maybe they are trying to win. I really don't know what they're doing. So I think that there's a high chance that the Thunder are going to land in that 1-5 range towards the end of the season, and which is ultimately the goal for this year. And so I think they're doing it well. I think those wins, like the Milwaukee ones, really hard if that's your goal, because you just watch the fan base oscillate between like, well, maybe if they go after somebody or Ariza comes back, they can go and compete for something. And you're like, no, that would be really bad. Like, it would just be really bad. And so,
yeah, that's what this team is missing. Trevor Ariza.
Go away, baby. That's all.
But I do think that like, looking at where they're going, the trajectory of the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I think the Thunder are going to be sitting pretty for a high draft pick at the end of the year.
Yep. Let's go over to the stream. We've got Miguel Davila from the Philippines, as always. Miroslav from Germany. We have Andrew Lindgren just saying hello. Hello.
Hello.
We have
Hello. Around the world.
We got Bailey from Adelaide, Australia. We've got Basketball Head 99 from Ardmore, Kai from Australia, and Arudha from India, and Sam from Virginia. Thanks for following along. So glad you guys joined us this morning.
Dunk worldwide.
Worldwide.
Take John's back to it bigger and up the reap. Take John's back to it bigger and up the reap.
Hello. This is it. I have a story about Kawhi Leonard and the Phoenix Suns. Apparently, when Kawhi Leonard went in to do his workout with the Phoenix Suns during his draft, in the interview process, they decided to pass on him because he was sweating through his shirt, and they thought that meant he couldn't stay cool under pressure. So I was just thinking about really stupid sayings and really stupid things that people make decisions on. And I have a question for you. What are your favorite stupid sayings or phrases? Andrew?
Giving 110%. Impossible.
Yeah. But it's the heart in that. I do understand the what it's talking about.
Wrong. It's impossible.
Yeah.
The one that makes me the craziest is perception is reality. You ever had anybody say that to you?
Yes.
Well, you know that perception is reality. It's like, it's not actually. And that's a statement that leads itself to a lot of like, oh, so it's okay for you just to judge something based on you not knowing anything. It makes me crazy.
Yeah, I
But
don't either.
it is their reality.
Yeah, but it's not reality.
But it is. That's what reality is.
But
To you.
Are we evolving down this direction?
No, I'm just saying. It's hard to
but
tell
it's
someone they're
their
not living
reality,
in
man.
reality. But you cannot tell someone, you can tell them that, but they won't listen to you. Like, you can't
the
be
question-
like, dude, that's not reality.
So the question is there a reality that is just independent of somebody's perception of reality? Like, is there a reality that is just like the truth? Is there like a capital R reality that we all exist in? Or does reality defined by the individual man?
Are you talking about the Matrix?
I think so.
Matrix.
Because it's possible.
Okay, Luke.
Okay, mine. I have two. And I don't think they're stupid. I think they're very wise, and I use them all the time. One is when it rains, it pours.
That's so true.
And the other is when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. And they're both saying saying the same thing.
Absolutely.
But when things are one way, like it's the extreme, you know?
Yeah.
And I love those two sayings. I use them all the time.
I don't know why that last saying, when you're hot, you're hot, and when you're not, you're not, it just matches with you so perfectly that it's hilarious to me.
It's true.
It really does.
Yeah.
When things are going well for the L man, everything's great. When things are going bad for the L man, everything's bad.
That does seem to be how life goes, though. When it rains, it pours.
That's
Good
true.
and bad.
But I love those. I love sayings like that because I think if they've survived that long to where like it's a saying, like they're true.
Okay,
I only think about that train song anytime somebody says that now.
What when you're hot,
isn't
you're
that
hot?
Drops of Jupiter? No. When it rains, it pours and opens doors that flood the floors. And
Wow.
I don't know.
Come
on. I'm not this alone.
I've never heard that song.
I don't know what song you're talking about.
What you're talking about?
I'm not a huge train head.
I'm not a train head either.
Hey, I got two for you. Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. No, you won't. You will die. You'll die immediately.
The last, it makes me cringe. That saying just is cringeworthy.
It's very cringeworthy, and it's very showing your lack of understanding of space and just how all this stuff is working. Because if you didn't know, stars are actually suns. Like our sun is a star, and they're so far away from us. So
yeah,
if you didn't know that, stars are very far away from the moon. And then the second one, it takes more muscles to frown than a smile. And that's false. It takes more muscles to smile than to frown.
Is that true? I don't believe that.
No, look it up. It takes 10 muscles to smile, and it takes 3 muscles to frown.
I don't believe
So
that.
it's false anyway.
Lies for so long. I'm so tired of it. What is reality? Let's get back there. Let's circle.
Get back to that. The other one I use all the time, the little saying I use all the time is, especially in my job, is it takes 2 to tango.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is a perfect one for you.
I say it at least once a week. I love it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Everything happens for a reason. That's a really bad one.
Oh, that's a really bad one. That's a really bad one.
That could be a bad one. In lots of situations, it can be.
I know.
I mean, it is true, but is it the advice you want to give someone most of the time? No. There's a reason that things happen every time.
Yeah.
I mean, just factually speaking.
Oh boy. What about with all due respect? Because it just means like you're about to get obliterated by me. Is what it means.
Yeah, that's a Ricky Bobbyism right there from Talladega Nights.
Uh-huh.
I said with all due respect.
It's the same as no offense.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry.
Literally.
I'm sorry. It's
That's good.
literally a saying.
Bigger victory. Take shots back to it. Bigger victory.
Oh yeah, guys, my favorite thing. This is my online deep dive, man. Online deep dive, and the best part about being online this week was everyone yesterday coming together to dunk on Ted Cruz for going to Cancun. It was so funny. And the best part is that they dunked on him so hard. He went to Cancun, which, like, we're all in bad weather here in Oklahoma. Like, we're under so much snow, more than we've ever gotten in my entire life. And, like, there's no place I want to be more than on a sunny beach. and he had to go. He got dunked on so hard that he had to come back. He was supposed to be there through Sunday, and he had to come back. Oh man, it was really, really good.
It's true. So did he get on the plane and then people started sending like
he got
on
on
the
the plane, and someone on the plane that was going to Cancun took a picture of him and put it on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got to Cancun, turned on his phone, and saw that everyone was
Oh my god.
so pissed on him. He got there, and he said he tried to spin it like, oh, I was just making sure my family got safe. I was coming back tonight. So got back on a plane, came back to Texas.
By the way,
my favorite things is like Go ahead.
He was clearly in Cancun attire getting on the. He was in vacation attire getting on the plane.
It's one of my favorite things. Is like Ted Cruz, a pair of jeans, tennis shoes, tucked in t-shirt, sitting in line at the airport.
Dude, the
sunglasses, tanning lotion,
Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah,
dude. The best thing that I saw was someone that tweeted, "It's like, can you imagine the person that is headed to Cancun to spend like a week there, and then before they start, the first thing they do to start their vacation is ruin Ted Cruz's week." I thought that is like, what a way to start your vacation. Like, can you imagine anything better?
Oh man, that is funny.
I think
it
was so funny. And then he came back and he gave a little interview. He's like, all right, it was a mistake. It's like not a great thing that I did. Like I could have thought this through a little better.
Classic Cruz, if you ask me.
Oh, man, it was funny.
Yep.
That's my line to God.
All right.
Yep.
Sorry, I had to get up for a second. My kids are awake and my wife is asleep, which is what we call it the Wild Wild West out there. So,
oh man, I can't imagine.
You're like, turn on some screens, please. Dude, turn the TV on.
We've been trying to do like no screen time right away in the morning. Let's take a quick break. And now we're back from that quick break.
Oh my word. Hey y'all, let's hit some Twitter questions. Our first Twitter question comes from @OKC fan with Russ, who wants to know, how do you like the Brooklyn division of the Thunder? And do you think they should get Westbrook in the offseason?
Oh man. What if the Wizards bought out Westbrook?
And then
he landed on the Nets.
And then they're just Thunder East.
They already are like Thunder East as they could be, but that would be really
added Andre Robertson this week.
Yeah,
I mean, Taylor, I think it was you that posted that you're kind of enjoying this Brooklyn team.
I like watching the Nets because they don't play defense, which is fun, but their offense is just insane. I mean, I don't really like Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and James Harden as like people, as far as what we can tell their personality is. Perception is reality. But I mean, as far as like basketball players, they're so fun to watch. And the three of them together, it's like watching an all-star game every night. It's just offense, and no defense. And they're gone. I can't see L-Man. I can't see Jay, Andrew. All right. What do you guys want to talk about in the comments?
Taylor, how's it all? What is going on?
They left.
I'm back.
Oh, it's just me.
No, I agree. I enjoy watching them as well, just because, especially in a close game down the stretch, if James Harden's bringing the ball down the floor and you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie on the wing, it's just like, what do you do? Like, this is why I picked this team to go to the NBA Finals this year, because I just don't know, when you get in a tight game, you can't guard everybody. Like the very, very worst thing that could happen is a wide open Jeff Green 3. And that's not a terrible option. Like, that's if everything goes wrong for the Nets.
And he's been making them.
Yeah, he's been making them. He's been really, really good for them. So I enjoy watching them as well. And the Westbrook stuff will be hilarious. I I don't see that happening, but it would be just comical.
You know, I know a lot of people are saying like a team who doesn't play defense cannot win the championship, but I have a hard time thinking that if this team makes it to the finals, that at least their one-on-one defense isn't going to get better. Because like these guys are built of players who have experience, and yeah, James Harden's on the team, but you have a lot of guys that if they want to play better defense, they can.
Mm-hmm. I think.
So, well, I think you're also going to see them on the buyout market. Would be a pretty. I mean, I don't know. That's a pretty safe bet to say that they're going to try to add somebody to help defensively that might get bought out at some point. I don't know who that would be. I couldn't give you any sort of guess, but I don't know. I think that. So here's a question. LeBron brought this up. I don't know if it was before or after last night's game. I guess it was before. But do you comparatively, like if you look at this offense, Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, I think is an underrated piece of that team.
Very.
If you look at that team versus those Warriors team in their prime with Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond, like which offense would you fear the most?
Oh, wow.
Because that's what LeBron said last night. He was just like, it's like, you guys forget, it was like 2 years ago that they had this team in the Warriors, but with Steph and Clay instead of James and Kyrie.
Wow, that's a really interesting question. Yeah. Who do you think is scarier, Steph and Clay or Kyrie and James?
Well, I think the Warriors were scarier just because they had a cohesive offense, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And they had an attack plan. Like the attack plan of the Nets is like, hey, we're just better than you, and we're going to beat you because we're better.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors, it was we're better than you, and we have the best offense in the NBA. And even with the Nets, it's funny, like even with the Nets being just like this, okay, we're just going to one-on-one just destroy you. It's like the best offense in NBA history. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say like, oh, there's only one ball, the kind of stuff. Like, has there ever been a team where it's like, they just have too many stars. It's finally hit the thing. You know, it's not going to work because of that. Like it works every time, and every time everybody's like, "Oh, I'm surprised this worked out with D Wade and LeBron. Oh, I'm surprised this worked out with KD and stuff. Oh, I'm surprised this worked out with these guys." It happens every time. I don't know why anybody's surprised by it.
Jay, and to speak to your Joe Harris being underrated, so this season he's playing more than 30 minutes per game, and he's averaging 15 points per game on 53% from the field and over 50% from three, taking 6.6 threes per game. That's exactly the offensive role player you want next to guys like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
and I think he's probably one of those guys I would say as well that like maybe in my mind differentiates this team from that Warriors team. Because once you got past Draymond, Clay, Steph, KD, I mean, you got three elite scorers, Draymond, who just does all the kind of glue stuff. Like they didn't have that fourth shooter at the level that Joe Harris is for them. At least I don't, like off the top of my head, I'm trying to think if they ever did. Like they obviously had better pieces at different places, but I don't know. Joe Harris, add Joe Harris.
Still really good.
Who was Iguodala?
Yeah.
I'm not sure he ever shot 50% from the 3-point line on 6 attempts, though. You know,
did everything else though.
He was the MVP. He was their literally MVP of one of their finals runs. So
I think you think of Joe Harris as like the type of relief shooter that Clay was for this Nets team, and then he does other things too. But he's not the top 3 player on the team. So I see what you're saying, Jay. But
yeah, I mean it's hard. You really are just comparing like maybe the 2 best offenses on the floor in the history of the NBA, maybe.
Yeah, I think it is in the history of the NBA, right? Both of those
statistically.
Yeah.
I think that maybe, and I'm in the weeds on this, but one of the offenses I've remember in my time watching the NBA that I thought watching was the most shockingly impressive offense was those Spurs teams that played the Heat. Mm-hmm. Some of those Spurs teams were incredible on offense without any really Kawhi was their superstar at that point, but anyway.
I mean, yeah, for them it was all like offensive scheme and passing and IQ. And it's cool to watch like all these extremely efficient offenses over the years and how different they all are from each other. Like the approach is totally different. And that Spurs approach had to be different because their best players were like 35. And then Kawhi Leonard, who was, how old was he at the time? 22, 23? Was he 22 when he won finals MVP?
Not sure.
No one knows how old the Kawhi is.
He was very young, though.
Yeah.
I still don't know how old he is.
He may not have aged.
It's one of those things. It's just one of the great unknowns. Is Kawhi Leonard's age. Hey guys, let's go on our next Twitter question. Comes from @Kiwi Thunderbud, who says, "I know Big Moses's per 36 stats are crazy. What are your honest thoughts on him? If we trade Horford, do you think he could take some of those minutes?"
Yeah, I mean, he's destroying the G League. That's great. That's step one for Moses Brown.
That's what big men do.
He was really, really good. And in the NBA so far, he's been mostly underwhelming. I mean, he hadn't played a whole lot. He played a lot in the preseason. He's obviously has physical gifts that very few NBA players have with his height and his standing reach, but he still has a long way to go development-wise. But yeah, I think they would play him certainly if they're able to trade Horford and not bring back another big man. And just for the fact of like, hey, let's see what this guy is. You probably start Roby, you bring him off the bench, and you see if he's got anything at the NBA level playing against really high-level competition.
I just will go ahead and I'll be the one that says it and then regrets it if he turns into like some even rotation player big. Moses Brown is just in a long list of really giant guys that won't make it in the NBA. Like he's not, for me, is he's just not fluid enough. His game is incredibly limited as far as offense. Like doesn't do anything outside of dunking or putting the ball up right at the rim. Even watch him in the G League, like, yeah, his stats are impressive because he's a foot taller than a majority of the people, it feels like, when he's on the floor. And so I just I don't see much difference from him and Dakari Johnson or other giant guy.
Much different than Dakari.
I really, watching their game, I don't see a ton different in watching the way they play offensively.
Dakari couldn't move. He's way more fluid than Dakari.
I mean, that's your reality, man, not mine.
Perception is reality, and this is one of the greatest debates we've ever had.
Wow. It's funny to me.
More fluid, Dakari or Moses?
It's just funny to me that you stand for Roby and then you just dismiss and just dunk on Moses Brown, who's averaging like 20 and 20 in the G League bubble. Like, come on, man.
I mean, one of them got sent to the G League and the other one is still on this team playing
one of them
normal minutes.
He's on a 2-way contract. I mean, that was the plan from the start of it.
That also defends my point. He's on a 2-way contract, and Isaiah Roby has a roster spot on this team. He's not a 2-way.
You should be so passionate about some guy.
I'm not passionate about Roby, but if you're going to compare him to Moses Brown, like, I'm hardcore not in on Moses Brown. And that's, if I'm completely proven wrong, as if this is my Hamidou Diallo moment, that's absolutely fine. But Moses Brown does not have a future in the NBA, in my opinion. Like, this is not a personal thing against Moses Brown. I just don't. This is his second team to have a 2-way contract on. I understand that he was a McDonald's All-American, played at UCLA for 1 year. It's that kind of NBA center, man. It's just not my thing.
I think I know what's going on here. Jay, it is personal for you. And it's because your number one favorite player this year is Poku. And what's happened? Andrew, can I spill the beans?
Spill them.
Okay. Well, there's videos of the players lining up for the national anthem.
Oh, wait. Don't spill.
Oh. Okay, never mind.
Okay, let's spill. All right, let's move on to our next Twitter question. Comes from @CornerTray3, who says he's a big fan of John Collins. Does he fit timeline at age 23? If OKC has to pay someone next year, is he a good option? Puts Bazley to bench player, possibly, though. Thanks.
I think John Collins is really interesting. Andrew does not seem to think he's that interesting because we've talked about him before. Has your view of the J-Man changed?
I'll tell you.
JC,
Can I guess on Andrew's take? And this is, I agree with it. Is this pulling the trigger on John Collins, which he's restricted, and so Atlanta can match anything? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's doing exactly what you don't want to do. Is it's pulling the plug on a rebuilding far too early.
Mm-hmm.
Like you add John Collins and it immediately pushes you to the middle. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean the Thunder are not going. You're not going to see the Thunder try to max out a restricted free agent from another team to try to get them. That will maybe never happen in the history of the Oklahoma City Thunder as long as Sam Presti is running the team. So don't expect anything like that to happen. Now, if it's like a guy that's maybe going to make $5 million a year as a restricted free agent, the other team's like, yeah, let him go. Then perhaps that could happen. But they're not going to go after a max level free agent, which that's what John Collins will be. He's that productive.
Yeah.
So there's just no. That's not how they're going to use their cap space. So I would not expect that. I think John Collins is good. I think he probably gets a bad rap to an extent just because he's not the best defender, but he won't be on the Thunder.
I'll never say never. But
that's another one, Luke. That's one that you use constantly.
Yeah.
True, man. I love sayings like that. I'm glad it was a good factoid figure dictory because I love sayings. Hey guys, our next question. It comes from the real Jack 73, who wants to know what's better, 2 fringe all-stars or 1 fringe superstar. I don't know if these are even real things. What is life?
What is this bit? What's the context of this question?
I don't know, but the question just like falls apart there at the end. Where it's just like crumbles to the ground of like, okay.
I really relate to it. Actually.
I don't even know
I really resonate with
these
that
words
question.
mean.
I mean, if it's not like a real superstar,
Fringe.
Then they're fringe. If you're a fringe all-star, like SGA is a fringe all-star right now, right?
Yeah.
So if you had like another player that was like him, or you have one player that's on the verge of being a superstar, is Bradley Beal a superstar? Is he a fringe superstar?
I feel like he's a fringe superstar because he hasn't. I feel like this is the first year he's really exploding into the NBA like general zeitgeist. No one really talked about him before. Only really hardcore NBA fans would be like, "Hey, Bradley Beal is really good. You just don't know about him." You know, because he's on the Wizards and they suck. And this is the first year. Like what? He was number 1 for All-Star votes?
Yeah, in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like he is a good fringe superstar guy. If he changes teams, depending on where he goes, I think he's a superstar at that point.
Yeah. So this is probably the question probably crumbled intentionally and well, because I don't know. It's just it's very specific because you could say Shea. Like if you're giving me guys like Shea, great, because they can potentially develop into, you know, a fringe superstar, which would be great. But if you're talking like Drew Holiday level, let's say there's like 2 Drew Holiday level guys that are fringe all-stars, like Drew Holiday, Mike Conley level guys.
Yeah.
Good players. Are they really making the difference? So probably not. So give me the fringe superstar, and then let me try to build something from there.
Hey guys, let's move on to our next question. It comes from T.Y. Tiger Gatewoods. Checking that out, but it was
T.Y. Gatewoods.
He wants to know, is that at Al Baby Cakes doing a deep voiced disclaimer for MGM Casino? He's also looking for a Taylor Thunder aren't fun update.
No, it's not.
As far as the Thunder aren't fun update, I mean, I still haven't been watching that much of these games yet. Isaiah Roby playing 30 minutes is not exactly what I would call fun. I mean, I think they've been a little bit more fun since that one podcast. But they got
called them out.
Since I called them out, they clearly listened. Andrew made us scared and made us think that they played that podcast section in the locker room. And we kind of believed it for some reason. And then, but they've been a little bit more fun, but still overall, wah, wah. I think that's just what the season's going to be, though. That's just what it is.
Well, and there was a stretch there where Shea wasn't playing. And that, for me, I'm like, one of the most enjoyable things is watching Shea play. I think I'll say that, like, Dort and Baisley being able to play pretty well at the same time is a nice revelation over the last year. I wasn't sure over the last few games. I wasn't sure that was possible, but
I love when Dort has games. He had a nice game the other day. When Dort gets going and is making some threes, well, not the Grizzlies game, but the one before that. When he's going, it's really fun.
Yeah, he was good in the Blazers game. Really good. Yeah, and you could even see, and I was kind of theorizing this the other day, that you saw a different level of activity from the opposing team when Shea was on the court.
Mm-hmm.
When he's not out there, I think teams feel like they're just going to roll over this team, right? And then they can't because this team plays too hard and they play too cohesively. And I don't know if teams will ever figure that out, or if the Thunder will just continue to just destroy teams whenever Shea is out. But it's become kind of a thing.
I think as an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, like we should recognize whenever teams don't take the other team seriously, because that's what we've done pretty much every year as a franchise that we've existed. Where if they were playing this version of the Oklahoma City Thunder without Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you know for sure that in the fourth quarter they would be battling, trying to come back from a 12-point deficit. Like we saw it all of the time, especially in these last 3 years. But we should recognize when teams aren't really taking the team across the court from them very seriously. And it does feel like that has happened a few times with Portland, the Lakers, Milwaukee. And that's not, I'm not like, I know there'll be people that maybe jump on this. Like, I'm not trying to discredit the hard work that these guys are putting in, and they're really trying hard, and they're even sometimes the offense looks really good, but it's just like, let's just own the reality of what it is. Yeah. So Kai in the comments said we would not take the Lakers to overtime in the playoffs. Like, pretty clearly not.
Yeah, it would be over in the first quarter.
I think we take them to 7 games, and it's an overtime game every time.
Yeah. 7 straight overtime games. It'd be like that Memphis series. They're just so evenly matched.
Exactly.
Hey guys, let's move on to our next Twitter question, which is this. It's from @Dort POY, who wants to know, how many first-round picks are we trading for Cade, or is Emoni Bates our longer-term goal?
I mean, it's really difficult to say. We don't even know what draft Emoni Bates will be in yet.
So clarify that. It could be 2022 or 2023, right? Because he's technically in the 2023 class, but he'd have to reclassify to be a senior this year.
Yes, we're not
sure
yet where he's going to land. But the Thunder would like, the answer is yes, right? Like, if they can get either one of those guys, like, great. And it all depends on who lands in the number 1 spot. I mean, if somehow like the Sacramento Kings fall into the number 1 spot, like, yeah, we don't really need you could see them either trading back or just not taking one of the point guards, right? And then it's possible where you can say, hey, we know you love De'Aaron Fox. Wonderful. We will give you our 4th pick and 2 additional future first-round picks for the number 1 spot. And they might say, sure. They shouldn't, because I think Cade can be a 3. I think that's a reality that, like LeBron played the 3, right? But LeBron's the point guard. Like
Can you imagine a lineup with De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, and Cade Cunningham?
I absolutely can imagine it, and it sounds really cool.
Sounds amazing.
It sounds really cool. But yeah,
I'm really nervous for him and the Pistons, man. That's my deal.
Oh yeah, the Pistons will take him. They just straight up.
I know. It makes me really nervous for Cade.
Sure. I mean, who knows? I mean, they've got a new general manager. They're. I don't know. It's hard to say that it couldn't be a good situation for a really good player.
And I know I'm asking this off the top of your head, but so going back in draft history, how often is the first pick going to be traded? Like, does that ever happen?
I mean, Markelle Fultz was the last one that happened, right?
Yeah, which was Philadelphia and Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So they swapped first round picks, which was, I think, 1 for 3 or 1 for 2.
I think 1 for 2. And then, I mean, we saw it with also like the Luka Doncic trade is another one that happened in the top 5.
Yeah, top 5. But I'm saying like to move that number 1 pick is a lot.
Yeah, typically it's not moved. I mean, they tried to move the number 1 pick in this draft. The Timberwolves did. And it's either that, oh, we don't really want the pressure of taking the number 1 pick, so we'd like to trade it. We not going to give us enough because you also know that you don't want to be the team that traded for this pick and then pick the wrong guy. So there's like that situation with the number 1 pick, and then there's the one where it's like, okay, why in the world would we trade the number 1 pick? It's Zion Williamson.
That's the problem. Is the only year that the number 1 pick would be traded is if no one knows who the number 1 guy is. If there's not an Anthony Davis, if there's not a Zion Williams, if there's not that's the only reason that it gets traded.
Somebody brought up Wiggins in the chat, Jay from, I think, the Philippines, man. No, yeah, maybe. It's Wiggins, and I can't remember. I think this is post-draft, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't remember the timeline on Wiggins being traded.
It was
yeah.
So anyway, but that's
It's
just hard. It's hard to move, especially if there's somebody that, like, I think Andrew kind of alluded to this, but if somebody is really naturally the number 1 pick, and then there's a team that really naturally needs it, like, rarely are they going to. Now, if OKC lands the 3 and 4, maybe, but I think that's the question. It really kind of goes back to the superstar versus all-star. It's like if you can get Kuminga and Evan Mobley at 3 and 4, I think there's a legitimate argument to say that would be better than just getting Cade at the 1. Whether or not I agree with that or not, but I think that argument could be made if you were to get that high, which right now, like, honestly, the Thunder and the Rockets are trending in that direction, to where Oklahoma City could get 2 picks in the top 7. And even if you can't move up with those, is having those 2 picks, I mean, you're just making, there's a good chance you're going to get a guy, if maybe not 2 in those 2 picks, which is kind of what you want to do.
Yeah.
I hope that Cade, I hope somehow the Thunder can get Cade. But if not, it's still really exciting to think about, like, having 2 of any of these guys that we talk about. It's going to make next year so much more fun to watch. Kuminga, Jalen Green, Mobley, any of these guys, Suggs, it's going to be like, man, that's going to be fun to watch them and how they fit next to SGA and Dort and Isaiah Roby.
Yeah. I mean, it's unlikely that whoever gets the number 1 pick is going to be like, yeah, we'll take the highest bidder for this, especially if it's the Pistons. I mean, if the Pistons get it, like, Cade's gone. It doesn't matter how many picks the Thunder have. I mean, they could call and be like, hey, we'll give you our pick and 10 additional first-round picks. And they'd probably be like, no, like, we'll still take this guy because we experienced the pain for this guy. That's what it's all about.
What about the Timberwolves?
Dude, I don't know what the Timberwolves would or could or would want to do, but it's possible that they would be like, yeah, we'd rather have Mobley. And we'll, if you're at 3 and we think you'll be there, we'll trade it to you.
Or Jalen Suggs.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the Timberwolves are a mess. They should take Cade 100% just because they need some kind of leader on their team. That's not D'Angelo Russell. So I would they should take Cade 100%. But yeah, I don't know.
Chili.
All right, let's go to our next Twitter question. It comes from at Darren EB1, who says, I know Andrew is a fan of Diallo. What is everyone's realistic opinion on his ceiling? Sometimes I watch him and his mid-range pull-up / jumper looks so clean. Sweaty smiley emoji.
It's a good emoji for the moment.
It's like a very nervous. I think whenever someone uses that emoji, I think there's a very nervous energy behind it.
Yeah, nervous excitement.
Yeah.
I don't. I tried to think about comps for Hami.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I couldn't really find anybody that I really resonated with. Have you guys thought about that?
Well, the reason that you can't think of a comp is because usually the most unique superstars don't have a comp before them. They are who other players are compared to in the future, Jay.
It's valid. I think the only thing, because I started thinking about like freak athletes that can more of an energy guy, but not a shooter. And so that's why, like, initially I thought, man, Terrence Ross, but Terrence Ross has been a really good shooter for a long time in the league.
Yeah,
and that's just not Hami's thing.
Yeah.
Hami
So
will
I don't
not turn
know.
into Zach LaVine in the comments. What if Hami turns into Zach LaVine?
I mean, Levine scores like Tracy McGrady, man.
Dude,
incredible.
LaVine is legit good.
Levine is good.
Iman
Shumpert.
Shumpert, that's a good one.
But Shump could shoot.
Not
At
really.
least in my mind, I thought he could.
Hami's way more athletic. Hami can do a little bit more than Shump could, because Shump is really just like 3-and-D. That's definitely not Hami's game. What about like poor man's Aaron Gordon? Because Aaron Gordon kind of does a little bit of everything, but not at like an elite level.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Shumpert has crossed 30%, by the way, from the three. Anyway.
Yeah.
I kind of thought Aaron Gordon too, actually. And it's hard because I went immediately to dunk contests people. It's like, all right, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, is that like who can jump out of the gym that can also like stay on the court.
I got it.
Jump out of the gym is another phrase, because nobody actually does that. Yeah, I think that one is at least interesting. He's shown the ability to handle a little bit and to pass it, and he's a really good rebounder. So yeah. What were you going to say, Tayshawn?
I was going to say Big Daddy Nate Robinson.
As a comp?
Yeah. Nah, just more to mention Nate Robinson.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nate Robinson's like the equivalent of an NBA gimmick, right?
Yes.
I mean, yeah. Can I tell you maybe the highlight of my last week, and I didn't even mention this, is Baisley recognizing, hey, it's way easier to finish when you just dunk the ball.
Did he have 5 or 6 dunks?
He was awesome against Milwaukee.
Yeah, he was. He was great.
Every time he dunks, it looks so easy, and you realize how much more athletic ability he has than you get to see with him on the floor very often.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I was so this was earlier in the season, but there were some dunks. There are some things that Baisley does, and because of his armband here, that I'm like, that looks like something Scottie Pippen would have done. And I never got responses whenever I would say that in the group text. But literally the way he moves, and then the wristband, I'm like, man, that's Scottie Pippen out there.
Little Scotty there. Yeah.
All right. Let's move
Luke,
on.
are you there?
Yeah, let's move on to another Twitter question. And it comes from @Bangelope, who wants to know, how much food have you eaten in the last week, and what was the best thing you ate?
So for those of you that aren't local here in Oklahoma and Texas, really a majority of the state or the majority of the country, we had a freak Arctic blast. And so snow, so much snow, negative degree temperatures, super negative degree wind chills. This was really bad. I went into hibernation mode. And so I started collecting food and eating and consuming as much stuff as humanly possible. Nothing that like stood out as far as, man, that was the best thing I ate. We had sloppy joes one night, which were really, really good. My wife makes, which is really good, and some easy freezy stuff. So, which was really good.
Yeah.
A lot of chips,
A lot
of cereal.
Mm-hmm. A lot of coffee.
I planned
a lot of coffee.
I planned ahead, and on it really hit like between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Like that's when the first big snow hit, and so Saturday, like evening, I went and got an Empire Slice full pizza.
Ooh!
And I ate the whole thing until Monday, and I didn't have work Monday, and it was such a smart idea, and it was delicious.
Such a smart idea.
It's smart.
I'm so smart.
It's smart. You guys didn't
I'm
do
so
it.
smart. I got a pizza.
Smart. I was thinking
I got
ahead.
a full pizza. Wow, Andrew's dying. I ate a lot. I cooked a lot. I'm the one who cooks in this household, and so I really took advantage of these days at home. So I was making chicken wings, like like raw chicken wings.
Yeah.
Eating them raw. And I made some steak with potatoes on Sunday for Valentine's dinner, because still had to bring the romance a little bit, boys. And then a lot of chips, a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it was.
Yeah.
A lot of snack foods. I mean, I don't know why we just like eat like crap when we have more time to cook better foods.
Yeah. My wife made all kinds of soups this week. We had a taco soup, we had a chili, we had some Italian types of soups.
Oh, you had a what?
All just delicious.
Soup
what did
week.
you have after?
Nope.
Bye, Luke.
Anyway,
Chili?
we had chili. We had
Chili.
And we also made this giant deal of banana pudding.
Oh man,
With like it was.
I love banana pudding.
It was
Vanilla wafers.
yes, just layered, and it's been life changing for me.
We had some good cookies. We did cookies over here, which was great.
Ooh, that's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we
did
also
a lot of
did the
soup, too.
We also did the self-cleaning ability on our oven and completely smoked up the house.
Oh, you
And
did.
Yes, we did. We thought this was a good time to do it. So then we had to open both doors and all the windows to let the smoke out. So then we were freezing for 3 hours. It was
So just to
really
be clear,
good.
this was before they told you to start rationing power. You were like,
I was like, man, we're bored. We got some time on our hands. This
Turn
oven
the
needs
oven up.
cleaned. I have a gas oven. Jay.
"Oh, I'm so sorry."
Wow.
All right, let's move on to our next Twitter question. It comes from @DJ_Frijoles, who wants to know, is Blake Griffin getting traded to OKC a real possibility? If a trade were to happen, would you rather see him play in OKC and try to recoup some value, or take the asset he comes with and buy him out?
What? Yeah, Andrew, you have to explain to me. So, number one is there was some betting website that put Blake Griffin's highest odds of landing spots at Oklahoma City. You have to explain to me why Oklahoma City would do this at all.
It's because Detroit has said that they will give somebody an asset for taking him.
Yeah.
So
And Oklahoma City has the space and the asset accumulation desire.
yeah, I mean, and they've got guys. I mean, you can trade several of the Thunder players to get there. And you can't include Trevor Ariza because Trevor Ariza's last team was the Pistons, so you can't trade Trevor Ariza to them. But like Darius Miller, Justin Jackson, Ty Jerome, like those contracts get you close enough with George Hill. Like all of those are enough to get Blake. Now, would the Thunder want to take on that money? I don't know. It depends on how good the asset is that comes back. So
2021 unprotected pick. Done.
Let's call it a deal. Let's call it a deal. I think they would.
That's how you get Cade.
I think they would absolutely do that deal. But I don't quite understand it from the Pistons' point of view. I still think there's a chance that he gets bought out by the Pistons, and he gets to go play for whoever. So I don't know. I don't know if it's actually possible. But I think we did want to talk about this NBA team rankings, the Young Star team rankings that was put out by Sam Vecenie at The Athletic.
Yeah.
Going to go ahead and force that into our conversation real quick. I thought we could have a quick one. So the Thunder rank 9th
A quickie
in the NBA, which is pretty impressive in that this is the first year that the Thunder are actually going for a draft pick, right? A top level draft pick, and they already are ranked 9th. If you add a top level prospect to this, like you become a top 3 team in the NBA when it comes to young talent. And I'm gonna give the list. I want to see if you guys agree or disagree with the list that Sam Vecenie has put together. So he has 12 players on here. Jay actually would love this list, number 1, because Moses Brown is at the very bottom of this list. So number 1 is Shea, obviously. Dort, number 2. Hami, number 3. Bazley, number 4. Poku, number 5. Teo, 6. And that's really to me, those are like the real young developing guys. And then you have kind of your 7 through 12 are I don't know. We'll see if any of these guys pop. Great. Most of them are unlikely to. Ty Jerome, Justin Jackson, Isaiah Roby, Josh Hall, Vit Krejci, and Moses Brown.
Wow, even Krejci is above Moses Brown.
He is. He is.
I guess I basically agree with that. It's funny to see because I think if you're a Thunder fan, you would place Bazley above Hami, just ceiling and potential.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting to see these other guys on Twitter that kind of tune into Thunder games, and they seem to think the opposite. They seem to agree with this list that it's Shea, Dort, and then Hami over Bazley. And
he's been way more consistent this year than Bazley.
Yeah, he has been.
And Vecenie there's been multiple times where he's mentioned that he's been incredibly impressed with Diallo. I think the thing that Pokusevski's like trying to figure out what he becomes. Sam Vecenie says it this way. He says, no player in the NBA has a wider range of outcomes than Pokusevski. Yeah. He has looked very unprepared to play in the NBA thus far and honestly should probably be in the G League. He's way too skinny and slight, but he fights and battles. His skill level does at times shine through. As a 7-footer, he makes smart rotations sometimes and can make 3-point shots. I think that obviously watching so far, I would put Teo above Pokusevski, but I think you just kind of already know what Teo can be. And so elevating Poku above him just on the potential wild card nature of him kind of makes sense to me as well. And so I've really been impressed with Teo. Like I know he's not doing anything that just like blows your mind, impressive as far as like, Diallo can do that sometimes, but he just knows how to play the game. And as a 19-year-old to be able to come in and give the minutes and perform the way he is, it's just been really impressive to me. And watching some of the G League, like Ty Jerome, I don't see him as really like, bank on this being an important guy, but I could see Ty Jerome actually cutting out kind of a long-term super bench player role, in the league for a bit. So yeah, I don't really care. After you go through those guys, like you're right, Justin Jackson, Roby, like even though I'm apparently the fan of Roby on the team, like I really don't know if that means he's going to be here in Oklahoma City. I don't see him as a core piece of this team going forward. Nobody knows what Vit Krejci is or brings. He's apparently just here rehabbing, but who knows? It is. And you alluded to this, Andrew, and I think this is the thing for like a Thunder fan to feel pretty excited about. So if the Thunder do get 2 picks in the top 6, and even if they're 3 and 6, or even 3 and 8, and they get Scotty Barnes and then Kuminga or Jalen Green or whoever in that top 4, I think that you'll see the Thunder be top 5 in this ranking next year, which is, I mean, a pretty incredible place to be 1 year into the rebuild.
Yeah, because the plan is not just, okay, let's see what we can get from this draft and let's go. It's, okay, let's see what we can get from this draft and then the draft after and then possibly the draft after. And then let's go. You know, like that's the idea.
And you'll be seeing steady increases like next year with a few more of those guys. Like, I think it'll go back to that fun thing that Taylor keeps talking about, but I think you will start seeing them improve on the court as well.
Maybe.
Yes, maybe not as far as win losses, but like you're starting to see this like as a team that like makes, okay, I could see this team being here in 6 years versus right now you're like, Al Horford's not going to be here. Probably it actually looks like maybe not even the rest of this year. George Hill hasn't been here. Like this team feels very transitional this year, at least in my opinion, it does.
Yeah.
You have 2 or 3, maybe 6 guys that you feel like are really long-term pieces and everybody else is pretty transitional. Next year you'll start seeing more and more like, okay, this could actually be a good image. Like right now you feel like you have Chris Wilcox and, start inserting all of these guys that were in those first teams that we don't even think about anymore.
Yeah.
So
Isaiah Roby. Hey guys, I got to go.
I got to go too.
Bye,
Chili.
guys.
Chile.
All right, Jay.
so I spent the rest of the pod basically furiously looking at Moses Brown stats to think, is he going to become Rudy Gobert? Am I missing something on this guy? Anytime I take any sort of like hard stand, I'm like, am I completely wrong?
Oh no. Yeah, I just don't know enough about. I've seen him in the G League. I've seen small bits of him in the NBA. He hasn't looked good in the NBA at all. I don't know what he's going to be, but
Yeah.
Putting up
And
stats
also-
in the G League is not nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you're watching them regularly. Number one is Poku didn't play the last game, which was weird.
Yeah, he's hurt.
Okay, thank you. He also the game before was like 0 of 9 from the field and 0 of 4 from the 3-point line.
My fear was my fear with him going to the G League. That, it's the same guy he was with the Thunder. Huh.
The blue though are like a really good basketball team. Like,
yeah,
they're winning a lot and shooting the ball out of their minds. Anyway.
Yeah, not dissimilar to the way the Thunder play.
Yeah, very, very similar.
Yeah. Just to go back to Sam Vecini's article, I'm still just floored that it's not insane to say that Hami is the 3rd best prospect on this team. And I think part of it is that we forget that he's 22 and it feels like we've known Hami for a long time, but he's still extremely young.
Younger than Obi Toppin.
Younger than Obi Toppin is really something. That is really something. And it's just really just credit to the Thunder's development team to get him to where he is, because preseason we would have probably had him 6th, right? Or maybe even 7th on this list. But he has.
I'll own the fact that even in the first 10 games in the season, I would have had him still ranked there.
Sure, yeah.
Like he's really transformed himself over the last 10 to 15 games.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even like we thought Lou was good. I think that we would have maybe had Bays 2 on this list going into the season.
Absolutely, without question. And I'm still having pretty high as far as potential. I think he's got the body and I think the skill set to be the guy that makes you think, okay, if this guy really develops, he can be a huge piece that fits on any roster. Because he's just got everything. And potentially, he's got everything. He can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble, he can attack. I think even this year, he's been a pretty good defender. I like seeing him physically fill out a little bit more, which should happen naturally just because he still gets bullied a little bit. And then I want him to be aggressive. Like, that's the thing about Bazley with me is I just want him to, like, be aggressive, just attack like crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. He's got to shoot it better, right? I mean, that's that's one of his deals.
Confidence.
Yep. Okay, Jamon, are you miffed and peeved about anything?
You know, here's the deal: is I like this weather. We don't normally talk about weather, but once in a lifetime Arctic storm.
You like this?
I normally love snow and
Yeah.
I love cold weather. This is a lot, and we were talking before the pod. It wasn't even really like snow you can go out and play in because it was so cold. But I freaking was out shoveling my driveway, which is like the most like suburbanite dad thing.
Before? Have you ever shoveled your driveway before?
Yeah, recently I have, mainly because what happens is I start seeing all my neighbors doing. I'm like, well, apparently this is what I'm supposed to do, and so I go out and do it. But I got myself some rain boots after the ice storm in October.
Yeah,
and I was shoveling all day, and now I got a giant blister on my foot, and it hurts so bad. So I'm a little miffed and peeved about that. And my back and my elbow. Like you start getting like my elbow.
no.
I have like tennis elbow from shoveling the driveway.
Oh gosh, I'm so miffed. We had our pipes freeze in our attic, and I was in my attic for probably a total of like 15 hours over the weekend. You know, standing on boards with my wife's hair dryer, just finding the pipes that were frozen, and then just sitting there with the hair dryer just on it, and it was just pure misery. It was just absolute pure misery for so long. But the feeling whenever you get that pipe to unfreeze, though, is
It's a victory.
unlike any other, because you can actually feel it, and it's like choo, 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 it like kind of shakes a little bit, and then the water starts going through. It is there. It was horrible, but then that was a great moment. Which
I'm just
many times.
right, recognizing that like our little complaints are nothing compared to what like real suffering people are going through, especially in Texas. And it's just brutal, man.
Yeah. No,
very, very fortunate over here. I never lost power. We've had heat. We've had no pipes froze. You know, like very fortunate. I recognize that. So
without a doubt, yes, very, very fortunate. And to not have a busted pipe would be 1,000 times worse. And that's why I was in my attic for 15 hours. Your fear of a busted pipe in my house. But yeah, huge shout out to my friends Jason and John who helped me out this week with that kind of stuff. My friend John, who like knows everything about everything with houses. I called him and I was at Home Depot. I was like, here, I'm gonna get this stuff. He's like, no, none of that. He's like, go get these things. Like, oh, okay, good.
Go get a hair dryer.
I laid just a crap ton of insulation over everything. I know everybody.
Did you? Yeah, that's what I wrapped my we have that sprinkler. I always forget what it's called, but it's this huge valve that just sits here, and I've just like wrapped it up with insulation and then put this huge bag kind of thing over it. And so far, it's working.
It's working. All right. Thanks for listening to our podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Down to Dunk. Thanks so much for following along on the stream. If you don't subscribe to us on YouTube, go ahead and do that. Make sure you go to theathletic.com/down to dunk to get The Athletic for $3.99 a month. You can read that article we were talking about the best young players in the league. See who's above the Thunder. See who's below the Thunder. Go check it out. It's out there on The Athletic. And you can also go to shopgoodokc.com and get our new Down to Dunk shirts. You can get our hoodies, the cotton candy hoodie, which is just beautiful.
So cool.
The logo tee, which is just like a nice gray t-shirt. And then our Too Good to Tank shirts. Maybe the Thunder are too good to tank. We'll find out tonight as they play Milwaukee in Milwaukee. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys again on Monday.